All right, you guys, very last video. This is unit 6. This is our most recent unit. This should be the most familiar to you. I'm going to kind of abbreviate the notes that I'm going to do in this video because what I want you to do is for factoring, see the unit 5 vid. Okay, so I'm going to go through the factoring really quickly because I explain how to do the factoring problems in the Unit 5 video. So I'm going to do that part just to save time so I can get through more of these. But number one, what I have to do is I have to factor this. And remember, the next step that we learned in this unit is that it's equal to 0. So we have to set each parentheses equal to 0 and get two actual answers. So if you remember what I need to do, since this one has 0, I'm going to put the 1 times the 3 on top, and I'm going to put this -4 on the bottom. And I'm thinking to myself, what times what is 3? It's 3 and 1. And they have to add up to -4, which I think means both of them have to be negative. Okay, so then remember I'm going to split the middle, and if you need to, I think I did this exact problem in my video, so you get it factored, my Unit 5 video, I mean. And when you get it factored, it looks like this: x minus 3, x minus 1, and then don't forget that you still have this equals 0 at the end. Okay, so if you don't know how to go from here to here, go back and watch Unit 5, because then you'll just be able to practice this problem and get it factored into this. But then remember, the next step after that is to equal both of these parentheses to 0 and solve them. X minus 1 equals 0, so I'm going to add 3 to both sides here, and I get x equals 3 as one of my answers. I'm going to add 1 to both sides here, and I get x equals 1 as my other answer. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, you'll do the same thing. Start with the x, get it factored. It's going to end up looking something like this, but with different numbers. And then you equal both of them to 0 to get these two answers. Okay, you can check the answer key if you're not sure how, if you got it right or not. Here's a problem with this one. Here's my equal sign. I don't have an equals 0 anywhere, so I need to move this over to this side, and I need to move this over to this side so that I have a 0 on one side. How do I do that? I'm going to add the 3a to both sides, and I am going to subtract the 40 from both sides. Okay, what that's going to look like, now that I have my 3a's gone and my 40's are gone, I have equals 0 here. That's what I wanted so that I could get it factored and equal everything to 0. Here I have an a squared, I have a 3a, and I have a -40, and none of those are like terms. I can't combine any of those together, so I literally just have to write all 3 of these. So I'm going to write a squared, positive 3a, -40. From here, you're going to do this factoring thing. The -40 goes on top and the 3 goes on the bottom, and you're going to split the middle and go through everything that I do in my Unit 5 video. And when you get it factored, you're going to end up with a plus 8 and a minus 5 equals 0. That's how it gets factored. If you're not sure how to do that, go back and rewatch Unit 5. And now I have to equal both of these to 0. A minus 5 equals 0. And like I've said in class, there's a bunch of you that might be to the point where you can do this step in your head. -8 is one of my answers, and 5 is another answer. But what you had to do for this one, maybe put a star next to this, you have to get it equal to 0 on one side, which means I had to move things over so that I am only left with 0 on one side. That is always the first step. You'll notice a lot of these actually have 0, and if it doesn't, you have to move something over. For example, how about number 4? I don't have an equals 0 in this one either, so maybe I should bring the 10 over. That makes it 0, which is good. And here's an x squared, and here's a -7x, and here's a whole number. None of those are the same. I cannot combine any of them, so I literally have to write all 3 of them. X squared minus 7x, positive 10. Okay, now I'm going to do my little factoring thing. Go back and rewatch the video. Think of those two numbers, cross this out, split the middle. When you go through those steps, you end up with x minus 5 and x minus 2 equals 0. Now what I have to do is equal both of these to 0 to get my two answers. What is the difference between what we were doing in the Unit 5 video and this video? Here's the difference. These have equals 0. If you go back to Unit 5, there's actually nothing here. It just stops after writing this. So then this is your answer in Unit 5. When you have this equals 0, that means actually solve for x. So we can get two answers. One of them is 5. This one, x equals 2 is the other answer. Let me do a couple more. This one is equal to 0. So what you're going to do is do the diamond or the x right away. Remember to take the 3 times -1, which makes -3 on top. And this number, of course, goes here. When you think of those two numbers, you split the middle, you get it factored, and check the answer key to make sure you did that one right. I want to look at number 6 because it looks weird. I don't have an equal 0. Okay, I need to have an equal 0. And also the fact that I have a parentheses here is like kind of freaking me out. I really want to do this. And I know that's what a lot of you think that you should do first when you see a problem that looks like this. So I'm going to do that. And now I still don't have a 0. So I guess I should minus this 40 over so that I get equal 0. Okay, that's good. I feel like I'm making progress. X squared, -3x, -40. Those are all different. I just need to write all of those. Super. Now I'm going to do my x. I'm going to get it factored. And when you get it factored, you end up with x minus 8, x plus 5. You can check my work if you want to with the answer key. Now I need to equal both of these to 0. X plus 5 equals 0. I'm going to add 8 on both sides here. Apologies for going too fast. Pause the video if you need to. I have 8 and -5 as my two answers. A bunch of these just look kind of weird. Okay, what about this one? I don't have a 0. What you need to do for all of these is we need equals 0 first. That's always the first step that I'm doing. So I guess for this one, maybe I'll minus the 7x over. Then I'll have equals 0 on this side. I have x squared and I have minus 7x. Those are different, so I literally have to write both of them. And now here's a question where I feel like on the quiz or the test, a lot of us are like, I don't know what to do. I can't you can't square root both of these. You can't square root 7. It's like, what am I supposed to do? And I said, do you remember, that there might be a GCF. I think there's something you can take out of both of these. Here's 2 x's, here's 1. The smaller of those is 1. When you start with 2 x's and you take 1 out, that means there's 1 left. Keep the minus sign. It was 7x, you got rid of the x, so the 7 stays. I think this means now I do what I'm supposed to do, I guess. Equal both of these to 0. Oh, that's one of my answers. Okay. Yeah, 0 can be an answer. X minus 7 equals 0, so let's add 7 to both sides. X equals 7. Wow, two answers. Okay, so this one was weird because I needed to first equal it to 0. And then if you ever get stuck, you don't think you know what to do, don't forget about GCF. Put that on your note sheet if you want to, okay? I think this one is just like this one. If you move over the 24x, there's a GCF. Do exactly what we did here. Both of these things need to be moved over, just like we did on this problem. Oh, I like this one. Okay, again, I don't have a 0. Dang it. So maybe I'll subtract the 4 over. So now I have 0. That's good. This has an x squared. This is just a whole number. Can't combine them. Ah, this. I think both of these numbers square root. Do you remember how to factor this? Go back to my Unit 5 video if you don't remember how to factor this, but you have 2 parentheses. One of them has a plus and one of them has a minus in it. This is how you factor every difference with a minus sign right here of 2 numbers that can be square rooted, so difference of squares. When you square root 9x squared, you get 3 and keep the x with it. And when you square root 4, don't write 4, because you got a square root 4, you get 2. Okay, this is how it gets factored. I did a problem like this in Unit 5, but here's my equal 0. That means I need to equal both of these to 0. You do this one too. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. To get x by itself, divide 3, x equals 2/3. There's one answer. I'll move it down here because I'm going to run out of room. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Start by subtracting 2. I get 3x equals -2. And to get x by itself, I'll divide by 3 both sides. X equals -2/3. There's my other answer, and it's okay to be a fraction. I think 13 is the same exact way I'll end with this one. It's a square. It already has an equal 0, thank God, so it's already set up to be solved. That's great. I don't have to move anything around. But I do recognize that these numbers square root, and I know my answers are supposed to look like so. When you square root 25 and x squared, you get 5 and keep the x with it. Check in your calculator. When you square root 121, you get 11. I need to equal both of these to 0. For this one, I'll start by adding 11 to both sides. Get 5x equals 11. Divide 5 on both sides. X equals 11 over 5. And some of you might be able to see, yes, this is going to be the same exact answer except negative. Why? I'll show you. Start by subtracting 11. Get -11. Divide 5. -11/5. Good stuff, you guys. Try the rest of them, check your answers. We're done.